In this video, I'm going to unbox and do a quick test of a new mic from Samsung called the Q9U. But this thing is a big boy, so I didn't want to just do it here in my office. So I went ahead and rented this auditorium just to show you the size of this thing. I'm just waiting for it to show up, actually. Wait, what's that noise? Oh, jeez! My God! Told you this thing was huge. When you see this mic online or in pictures, it truly does not do a good job just showing how big this thing is. Actually, it does remind me of the Shure SM7B for a lot less money. Do you want to see me do a comparison between these two? Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you want me to. Oh, and be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss that video. Now, as far as what you get in the box with the mic, it's pretty simple. It includes, well, the mic, and a mount as well, which you can use with a boom arm or a desk mount. Now it's nice, it also includes a little windscreen to help with those pees and pops, two cables, USB-C to USB-C and USB-C to USB-A. Now the reason for this is because you can actually use it with an XLR cable or right into your computer. It's a simple plug-and-play setup, which I'll be showing you guys shortly. Taking a closer look at the back of this mic, it does have some settings which you might adjust while you're using it. It has a low cut switch, which will help quickly raise or lower the volume of your voice, and a mid-presence boost, which helps give you a little bit more bass to your voice, should you want that. It has the USB-C port to plug into your computer. Along with that, you can use this headphone jack to go ahead and monitor that audio. Now this mic does come in at about 2 pounds, which, judging by the size, you would think it would be a lot heavier. Now my current setup does have a shock mount, and it's quite a bit heavier, so this is a welcome change. So let's go ahead and jump over to my desk, and I'll show you this mic in action. So typically when you hear me do a voiceover, or I'm sitting at my desk, or if you've ever seen me on a live show, this is my setup. I use the Rode Procaster microphone going into my Rode Podcaster Pro. Good Lord, it's too many podcasters and whatever, but it's the Rode mixer, if I got that wrong. And what I love about this microphone is it's not too bassy, but then it's not too hollow. It gives a nice all-around feel. Now, the most important thing with this microphone is it's end-address microphone. So if I were to go to the side here, obviously you're not hearing me well at all, and the same thing goes here. So everything behind this is blocked out. So if I had a window there, or, you know, the desk didn't have a wall or something along those lines, this is a big help. Now, anything in front of it will go pretty well. Now, with this microphone, if you're not somewhat close to it, you see you lose a little bit of volume. So it's something that you're going to need closer. And if you forgot it on a boom arm or a stand on your desk, it's definitely always going to be there. As you can see, it's in the shot. And you can go further away, but just keep in mind that you may have to raise the volume a little bit. Another thing to mention, of course, is the weight of this. I mean, this arm is spring-loaded, and when you'll see me take it off here in a minute, you'll see that it pops up a little bit as the mic is on it. Now, the other microphones do give it a little bit of weight. They're not flying up in the air, but when it comes to moving this around, it certainly is one of the heavier mics. Now, the mic itself is probably about the same weight, maybe a little heavier than the Samson, but this anti-shock mount or shock mount really adds to it because of the way that this is set up. It doesn't have an arm that goes around it. It's all via the end, which is why you need the shock mount. So again, quite a bit heavier than the Samson, as you'll see in a few moments. Big difference between this and the Samson Q9U, obviously, is this has the ability to go USB right into the computer, and we'll try that when we move on over to it. Now, the other important thing to know is that right now you're hearing all this completely unedited. I haven't touched the audio at all. I am going to switch on over right now, and this is basic editing when it comes to audio. I do not claim to be anything of an audio professional. I just like to balance it out, maybe take away a little bit of the noise if there is any in there, but just to kind of balance it out so there's no peaks and no lows on that. It goes straight across. Very, very basic editing when it comes to audio, and you may not hear much of a difference, but I do. So that's the reason why I do that. Let's go ahead and switch on over to the Samson Q9U right now, and we'll plug it into the Rode Podcaster Pro. This is the Q9U run via XLR cable into that Rode mixer that I have. And as you can see, the look here is a little less daunting. And as far as the weight goes, it certainly commands a little more push when I'm moving around the mic arm. And it doesn't command as much presence as this one moving it around. This makes it easier to move the mic arm around. Now you can adjust the mic arm in this particular one that I'm using, but as of right now we're leaving it the way it is. Right off the bat, I can tell that this mic is a lot more centered, bass heavy, not as clear. And there are some settings that you can do. Obviously, if you want to change it up on the mixer, you can do that. But that's my standard settings on the mixer. So I don't change anything. Everything is good to go. Condenser or dynamic mic, and it's all set up. And again, via the XLR. Now, you can do some settings on this microphone itself because it does have the low-pass filter as well as the mids down here. I'm going to adjust the mids because as I was messing around with this, I did notice that offered a little more difference, a little closer to what the Rode is. So that's it right there. It does give you a little bit more clear feeling. Now, if you're watching this just on your phone or whatever, you don't have headphones in, you may not hear it, but I can definitely hear it. It's a lot clearer. Now, the low-pass filter, if I turn that on, it just makes it a little bit louder, but I think it kind of defeats what I'm trying to do with the mid because it does feel like it gets a little more foggy or just a little more, I don't want to say, it's less clear on that. If I turn that off, I feel like this is as close to the Rode I can get without any editing. Now, keep in mind, this is not edited at all. Let's go ahead and just do my basic editing right now. And you'll see that because it's adjusted a little bit, it can get pretty darn close to the Rode. Now, there's still a difference, but with a little more tweaking, I have got this sounding exactly like the Rode Procaster. Now, this is also an end-firing mic, so you go back a little bit, and again, you're losing that volume. You can't go too far away from the microphone because it is the end dress style and it does block out everything around you. So that's the pros and cons of that. You get good real close. The con is you move away and you start losing a little bit of that volume. So people might be like, huh, what are you saying? Turn it up! Turn it up! So you got to kind of stay close. Now with that, the same thing goes here. You do this to the side. You're losing it. You don't want to talk to the side like that on these. And of course, the same thing goes for moving it to the back. It blocks everything out behind it, and you can't go too far out of the range. I mean, you can kind of go that way a little bit, but you do notice the difference in it, so you got to be careful with your setting. Now, when I went ahead and switched these out, the one thing that I do like with this is it has its own spin here, its own little knob. So you just basically hold this still and you spin this on. Big difference from the Rode Procaster because you have to spin the whole thing around to put it on. Now, the boom arm here does have this knob that will allow you to spin it and tighten it up, but it's just a little hard to move around. It's just a lot going on with the mic arm moving up, and I don't have three hands is basically what I'm saying. This particular setup I like because you can just hold it still, spin it on, and boom, you're ready to go. And you can move this around and adjust it as need be. So that is a look at this via the XLR. Let's go ahead and see how this sounds compared to using it as a USB. Now, I'm going to do USB-C to USB-C because that's what I have. You're not going to see much of a difference, but I'm going to tell you why, if you're live streaming through a service or anything like that, why you might not want to use this. Hold on one second while I switch this out. So here it is via the USB-C setup. Now, I did have to go into my settings on my Mac and actually make sure that it was coming through my earphones as opposed to the speakers or anything else like that. And I did have to adjust the volume so I could hear through this as well, so it wasn't coming through. As of right now, this is straight out of the box. No input gain whatsoever right from the microphone. I didn't change anything. Right now, none of the settings are on, so this is what you got. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this also has a mute button or an on-off button. So you can go ahead and mute if you have to cough. So that's actually nice. It's actually right on here at the bottom. And typically I like to have it on top, but I mounted this and didn't realize which way I was going. So my bad. But let's go ahead and just adjust this a little bit and see what we can change. Now, again, same thing goes for here. That doesn't change how you're talking out of it. Let's go ahead and change the low-pass filter on this and see if there's any change right now. And as far as I'm concerned,
I think it sounds worse. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. I don't like it. I'm going to go ahead and switch it back. I think that sounds a lot better. Now, I think this is going to do the same thing for the mid. It's going to sound a little bit more like the Rode Procaster and switched. And yes, I think that does get a little bit brighter. So as far as using this to do voiceovers and anything like that at all, I don't hear a huge difference going through the mixer as opposed to going into your machine. Where you need to be careful with going from your USB into your computer is it's now taking power from that computer to process all of this. Whereas you go through a mixer, it's an external port, boom, done, you're gone, not a problem at all. Same thing goes for a microphone that can go into a camera. You're not going into the computer. But if you're live streaming and you're going from the microphone directly into the computer, there could be a mess up in the audio and what you're seeing on the screen. So that's something you do have to be careful of. My good friend Michael Fire Jr. has a channel that talks a ton about live streaming. I'll go ahead and put him right up here in the corner. You can check him out. I'll also leave his link in the description. Everything and anything you need to know about live streaming, he can help you with that. But as far as what I'm getting out of this right now, recording a voiceover, I don't hear much of a difference, again, between this and the mixer. So I'm pretty happy with that. If I go ahead and adjust this back down, I can hear a little bit of a difference. So I think I'm going to leave the mid on, which makes it a little more clear. And, oh, if I go ahead and I adjust it a little bit with just basic tweaking, it's probably going to sound just the same as when I had it via the XLR. So we'll do that right now, and you can tell that the difference might be just very slight in that, make it a little bit louder maybe on this, and a little more even. I think that's what I noticed when I did that last time. This gets a little louder and a little clearer, and compared to the Rode Procaster, it matches this better, where this doesn't need as much post-processing if it's set up properly. So this, again, goes for $199. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. Samson, thank you so much for letting me borrow this. If you want to check out any of my other content, here's a playlist right here. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for the next video. You guys take it easy and have a good day.